Encontrar motivos para ser pessimista com relação ao meio ambiente é fácil, mas muito mais importante é achar fontes de otimismo.
Seeing young people find that passion, for me, that's what I love about it. If you feel called to come and protect the water, to protect the land, come up here now because we need you.
The climate crisis is largely a crisis of imagination. We need to be imagining another future.
Foi-se o tempo que a gente podia se dar o luxo de ignorar a crise climática ao nosso redor, né? Hoje em dia, ela está por toda parte. Estou falando de incêndios florestais, de seca, de falta de água, de furacões intermináveis e a lista continua. E exatamente por isso eu vim até a Califórnia, o estado que mais sofre com esse tipo de transformações aqui nos Estados Unidos, e vim atrás de pessoas que dedicam a vida em busca de soluções para esse problema. Mas a pergunta é, será que já é tarde demais? Vamos ver.
One thing I love about being an environmentalist is that individualism kind of goes out the door, because just like an ecosystem, we rely on each other. We are an ecosystem. We need each other. We're living in moments of deep hardship, and we have to prioritize collective care, joy, the ability to co-create and imagine another future. So as an artist, I want to inspire people to take an action that is going to be meaningful. And I also want to create beauty in the world.
Were you always into plants and
Well, actually, I grew up in a cement city, and I didn't really have a relationship to nature, because that's what happens for a lot of people of color, is that they get forced to live in places with very little nature, very little trees, and as a result, we don't get to access what is actually our human right, which is nature and green spaces, and so I didn't grow up with that culture.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think for a while the climate crisis was totally disattached, or was viewed as something disattached from social injustice. Nowadays we realize that they're very much intertwined.
Absolutely.
How so?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm a living example of this. I grew up in a community in Oakland, California that was deeply impacted by the war on drugs. But there was something else that was happening which was very invisible, and that was pollution. I live next to a freeway that is one of the most highly transited freeways in all of the state, and that's the 880 freeway. And the 880 freeway is producing so much emissions that the level of toxins in the air is much more than the standard, and as a result, there's a lot of asthma, there's a lot of respiratory disease in my community. However, just a few miles up, where there's another freeway and there's mostly white families, they have prohibited trucks. And so my community bears the brunt of fossil fuel emissions. And that is climate injustice, which is really the result of land policies in which Black and Latinx people, indigenous people are relegated to the dirtiest communities, where you can have pollution, you can have oil extraction, you have refineries, you have food deserts, and that's the kind of neighborhood I grew up in. And that's why I became an environmentalist, because I realized that at the core of all the injustices is really the climate injustice and ecological devastation, really.
Se fosse um país, a Califórnia seria a 5ª maior economia do mundo. Mas, por incrível que pareça, o estado é um dos lugares mais desiguais dos Estados Unidos. Enquanto a cidade de São Francisco, por exemplo, tem um dos metros quadrados mais caros do planeta, do outro lado da ponte, a gente encontra um dos maiores índices de pessoas sem moradia na América do Norte.
Urban Tilth is a nonprofit, and our farm here is located in Richmond, and just within a mile away from us is actually the Chevron oil refinery. Usually when you walk in this area too, you can see some of the smokestacks from Chevron. And what they tell us, which many people believe, is that, oh no, there's nothing to worry about. What you're seeing now, it's just steam. Like you're totally fine. You know, it's very scary because you see all this smoke, you can smell it. People are very sensitive to smell. You can smell it, and this is the kind of smell it's actually sulfur. And when sulfur is in the air, or even you get a hint of it, you're not supposed to smell it because it's so hazardous and toxic for your health.
The soil is contaminated. You guys figured out a way to grow all that we're seeing here.
Yes.
I'm sure wildlife is impacted by the oil industry. What was it like growing up here?
In the school system itself, I remember probably around 4th or 5th grade, where my teachers would actually go through like a shelter-in-place system for us. You know, thinking California, it's all about earthquakes. And so they taught us to sit underneath our tables, go in between the doorways to make sure that nothing falls onto us. And then the other thing that they would mention would actually be if you smelled any odors that smelled like rotten eggs or just smelled like gas, to cover any cracks or crevices that were open in windows or your doors. And at the time, it didn't make sense to me. And in 2012, on August 6th, those flashbacks of those shelter-in-place actually came back to me when the Chevron refinery had exploded. And that explosion sent 15,000 residents to the hospital, including myself and my family. I was able to see the explosion from my house. I was just looking outside the window and I thought, you know, this is not normal. And I shouldn't have to be afraid in my own home. From that moment on, I started to really open up my actions and open up my mind of what can I do and what is there to do. And that's actually when I met one of the founding grandmothers of I Don't Know More SF Bay. The I Don't Know More SF Bay is an Indigenous women-led group here in the Bay Area that was inspired by the I Don't Know More movement that happened in Canada with First Nations women. Here in the Bay Area really stands for clean air, clean water, and clean soil, and ensuring a safe and healthy future for the generations who come after us.
We pray, we educate, we're trying to stop the harms to also be connected with building the new future. It's really wonderful to have this beautiful multi-generational group of women working together, I think.
Yes.
The grandmothers inspired the younger people, and the younger people inspired the grandmothers.
If before you could, in a way, shy away from the tragedies we see on TV, from the wildfires, the hurricanes, you can't anymore. It kind of feels like now that we're more aware, the destruction is quicker than before. Is it accurate, or do we just have more access to information now?
I really feel that, you know, the invisible cloak has been taken away from their eyes, and that they are now seeing the reality of what we've been dealing with and what we have been trying to warn people for a very long time. And I feel like, especially with the younger generation. I know I'm still like in the middle of that right now, but there are younger people out there who are really, really powerful.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
How did you guys hear about Youth versus Apocalypse?
Youth versus Apocalypse started as a group called Youth versus Coal in West Oakland. There's a developer named Phil Tagami, and he was trying to put a coal terminal in West Oakland. West Oakland is already an extremely polluted community. The pollution in the air is so heavy that it seeps into the soil. And so he's trying to put a coal terminal and pollute the air in a place that's already like past the limit of pollution. So Youth versus Apocalypse started with this one main cause. And so the thing that really catapulted us was a video of the interaction with Isha Clark and Dianne Feinstein that went really crazy. And the Bay Area saw these group of young Bay Area youth, and we're like, we really want to support that.
We're the people who voted you. You're supposed to listen to us. That's your job. How old
I'm
are
16.
You?
I can't
you
didn't vote for me.
It doesn't matter. We're the ones who's going to be impacted.
A lot of why we have been so loved, I think, by the Bay Area is because of the passion that our young people, our frontline young people bring into the movement, and because we are really truly a youth-led org. We have one adult supporter. Every meeting, it's young people. Our young people are doing really crazy things like speaking in front of 40,000 people, telling a politician, no, you're wrong. This is what should be happening.
How old are you guys?
I'm 15. I just turned 18, that's why.
Does it ever get heavy? Because you guys are taking on a tough battle.
Yeah, I feel like every once in a while. I think the majority of my so far life has been just, trying to fight for a world where everyone can thrive and be free. And so just to see sometimes, there is progress, but the radical action that we need is not happening can be very frustrating, and that itself can be exhausting. And I think the work itself can be exhausting too, because, other than, YVA, I'm also a student. I'm a full-time student, and then I just have my day-to-day things I need to do with my family, take care of myself. All these things that I need to balance that a teenager should not have to do, but I'm doing it.
What do you do now in terms of, YVA, and how do you dedicate your time?
We're very heavily in touch with students in Oakland, in Richmond, and a lot of it is going into schools and presenting this information on the climate crisis and making those connections for them. When you see someone else who looks like you, who can speak like you, who reminds you of a brother or a cousin, delivering this information to you, it becomes more of oh, this directly affects my life and my community and my people, because a lot of kids don't know that. We're not told that. I wasn't told that. That's why I think it's so important to let our young people know this is what's going on and you can do something about it.
Eu não podia fazer um episódio sobre meio ambiente e não alugar um carro elétrico, né? Quer carona? Por incrível que pareça, menos de 10% dos carros vendidos nos Estados Unidos são elétricos. Mas parece que isso vai mudar. O Biden prometeu que até 2030, 50% dos carros vendidos nos Estados Unidos vão ser elétricos. Agora, apesar da China ser um dos maiores responsáveis pela poluição que a gente vê no mundo, eles também já se deram conta que eles têm que mudar. Houve um crescimento de 30% na venda de carros elétricos na China. Então, a China e o Japão estão à frente dos Estados Unidos e, infelizmente, o Brasil ainda está muito atrás. Olha, sem nenhum orgulho, que eu tenho que admitir que eu nunca dirigi um carro desses. Eita, quando você tira o pé do acelerador, ele freia. Agora, eu tô quase assim. Aqui não dá nem pra fazer charme pra vocês, porque é aquela coisa assim. Acho que se eu fizer assim, ó... Se você está se perguntando para onde eu estou indo recarregar esse carro. Chegamos. Agora eu tenho que aprender como abastece. Quer dizer, como recarrega. Gente, há sempre uma primeira vez, eu tô aqui para aprender. Vamos ver. Não tô vendo lugar para botar cartão de crédito. Você paga? Ou é de graça? Ah, tem aqui. Já vi que você paga. Tava bom demais para ser verdade, né? De graça ainda. Tap card here. Ó, já pegou minha informação, eu acho. Não, não pegou minha informação. This is saying that it's disabled, see?
Ah, okay. So this is probably the case.
Em minha defesa, a culpa não é minha. A estação não está funcionando. Tenho que parar ali antes que venha outra pessoa. Agora vai. Ó, autorizando. Ah, cancelado. Pay by card. Plug in your vehicle. Então, já tentei 3 estações. Ó. Initializing. Tá começando. Então, meu carrinho está devidamente carregado. Eu saio daqui com a gratificante sensação de que eu fiz a minha parte. Existe todo um grupo de pessoas que hoje em dia não usa mais a expressão mudança climática. Eles falam que mudança é uma mera transformação. O que a gente está vendo hoje em dia é uma emergência climática, né? É uma crise climática. Dentre essas pessoas que têm essa opinião estão a Margaret Atwood, que é uma das maiores autoras do mundo hoje em dia, muitos jornalistas do The Guardian, do New York Times e a vice-presidente dos Estados Unidos, Kamala Harris, que, por acaso, nasceu aqui em Oakland. E é uma das vozes mais poderosas a favor do Green New Deal, uma iniciativa que revolucionaria essa equação pela qual a gente está passando agora. As leis mudariam, as regras mudariam e os nossos hábitos também teriam que mudar radicalmente. Essa loja é um charme, o nome é Mud Lab. E o conceito da loja gira em torno da ideia que é possível, sim, a gente viver uma vida sem criar lixo.
Mud Lab is a zero waste cafe. Here, when you buy from us, we have a jar rental program for our drinks. You can bring it back and you get a deposit back that you put on it back to you, and it just keeps going around and around and around. We also have a grocery concept that is mostly pantry items, so it's not like produce or whatnot. A lot of it's locally sourced. It's also sourced in containers that we can reuse and that our customers can buy, come back, they put a $1 deposit on it, we give it $1 back for the jar they bring back, and then we keep circulating it around. We don't judge anybody on their zero waste mission. We try and make things available so that you can start at whatever part of your zero waste journey. We have all sorts of practical kitchen items, household items, things you can use every day that you can slowly phase out one and phase in another. The bigger goal is that we're all reducing our waste and we're being cognizant about what does it mean to be a consumer, also demanding more from people who are producing the foods or the things that we need. Like, why is this in plastic? Just thinking about it and getting that sort of thinking going is enough.
A crise do lixo é um problema seríssimo, né? Uma pesquisa mostrou que se a gente continuar desse jeito, até 2050, o mar vai ter mais plástico que peixe, né? E é fácil a gente achar que isso é um problema do outro, que outras pessoas têm que se preocupar com isso. Mas a verdade é que a gente tem poder também, né? Começa com a gente. The United Nations and the scientific community just came out with the results of a report basically calling the moment we're in code red. How does it feel when you turn on the news and you see the wildfires and you see the glaciers melting and you see the hurricanes and you see, like the world in a way falling apart?
I think it's frustrating to hear that people are now just feeling awakened when, again, communities of color have been suffering for years.
Yeah.
This isn't anything new for us. I mean, it's infuriating, but it's hard. There's like this anxiety, I think, in a lot of organizers' heads when we have smoke days and we're reading about the hurricanes, and still people are like, it's a hoax, it's made up, it's this, it's that, and it's like, you don't really have to be super smart to realize growing up we didn't have fire, we didn't have smoke days. That's a new thing that we have here. So I mean, like, it's frustrating, it's hard, it's a lot.
Are you resentful? Who do you blame?
I don't know, just the practice that people are disposable and that, money is more important than lives is just a practice that, our philosophy, like anything you want to call it, is something to blame. But I feel like more so, it's not really focusing on blame anymore. It's just like, okay, what can we do? It's going to get a lot worse if we don't take action. And so I really don't try to focus on who to blame, just more so the future, because I feel like focusing on who to blame is not going to change really anything.
I disagree. I think it's important to recognize where this issue comes from, because the climate crisis, like Anaya was saying, comes from a philosophy where people are disposable. Brown, Black, Indigenous people are disposable. I try to remember that it's not about individual people, because the truth is, people are tired. People have their own lives to think about. People get up at 5 in the morning and come home at 8 o'clock at night to cook dinner for their kids and go to bed and do it the next day. People are working hard and are very tired, especially in a pandemic, to ask them, to tell them, you need to make all these changes to your life so that we can solve this climate crisis, when a few corporations can make some simple changes to the way they do things. That's wrong. That's like a sin in my eyes. But I think not necessarily who are we blaming, but remembering that the climate crisis does come out of a system that is flawed, and that we need to do something not just about the climate crisis, but the system as a whole.
What has caused climate change is an ideology and an economic system that began with colonization. I'm an intersectional social justice artist, so I care about gender justice, racial justice, climate justice, and because fundamentally these are all connected. The way that they're connected is that we have an economic system, an extractive economy that prioritizes some bodies over other bodies, and some bodies are exploited. The forests, the trees, animal bodies, human bodies, Black bodies, Indigenous bodies, Latino bodies are exploited. So we need to just completely move away from this idea of civilized culture, which is actually, what civilized means? It's been the nonstop, endless extraction of the planet.
I'm from Brazil, and Brazil has a lot of issues. I'm really proud of my origins, but one thing I hear a lot when I'm down there is, look, Brazil has to deal with so many problems that sometimes I feel like people feel like there is no space to focus on the environment. And I think they're missing the point that it's all interconnected.
What happens is you have people who have less because what they would have had access to has gotten robbed. The earth has enough for all of us to live in a cooperative way. When that is taken away, you create inequality. What happens in order to maintain the inequality? You need police forces, you need to put people in prison, you need militaries in places like Iraq, Afghanistan to protect the oil so that it goes to the rich countries. You need exploitative governments like what we're seeing in Brazil, who then the corruption has allowed for them to open up the sacred Amazon for exploitation. So it is actually all connected to the exploitation of nature. To me, I think that we also have to mimic nature, right? In nature, you have the mushrooms, you have the squirrels, you have the trees, you have the clouds. There's a cooperative system in which there is not one entity that takes all the resources. We have to mimic that.
Uma das instituições de arte mais respeitadas da costa leste americana é o Oakland Museum of California, onde eu estou agora. E eles têm uma exposição que foca exatamente na interseção de todos esses problemas e de todo esse ativismo que a gente vê. Basicamente, é como seria um mundo sem racismo, sem crise climática, sem homofobia, sem xenofobia e assim por diante. Essa exposição ela gira também em torno do afrofuturismo, ou seja, o que seria do mundo se ele não tivesse todos esses defeitos. Essa exposição, na verdade, girava em torno dos Panteras Negras, da história por trás do movimento dos Panteras Negras. Era para ser uma exposição temporária, mas o sucesso foi tamanho, ela atraiu tantos visitantes que o museu decidiu tornar ela permanente.
Art is one of the most powerful tools that we have, because the climate crisis is largely a crisis of imagination. The culture of extraction is so embedded in our imagination that some people can't imagine what it's like.
Can't fathom a world without it.
Yeah, we can't fathom a world without the oil industry, and that's exactly the problem. And so imagine if we saw movies that normalized clean energy, that made it so that we really saw the villains that was the fossil fuel industry, right? And made it so that at one point our society, just like people think that smoking is not cool anymore, how do we make it so that someone says, are you still driving an oil-powered car? That is so not cool. You know, why? You know, think about the superheroes that you've been inspired by, or think about, you know, films like Black Panther that showed us Wakanda. Never in my wildest dreams would I would have imagined Wakanda, but once I saw Wakanda, I felt that's possible. That's a world that I would love to live in. We can use those same tools to inspire people to think about clean energy, about transitioning to a more plant-forward way of eating in a way that is not requiring us to destroy the Amazons for cattle ranching. And that's the work that my organization does, is that we work with the arts and culture sector, many different kinds of disciplines, to really imagine what climate solutions can look like. Because when we can do that, when we can imagine it and it becomes something that's just a little bit possible, we're able to move people towards that direction.
Oakland é uma cidade que fica perto de São Francisco e Berkeley, numa região conhecida como Bay Area, no estado da Califórnia, na costa oeste dos Estados Unidos. Essa região ela é famosa pelo ativismo, não só Oakland. Durante muito tempo, Harvey Milk liderou o movimento de direitos pela comunidade LGBT em São Francisco. Aí você atravessava uma ponte, chegava aqui em Oakland e se deparava com o movimento dos Panteras Negras, focado nos direitos civis dos negros aqui nos Estados Unidos. A gente tem que lembrar que pouco tempo atrás, décadas atrás, nos anos 60, os negros eram vistos como uma subclasse. Eles eram desrespeitados, eles eram ignorados. E essa atitude acabou gerando uma revolta que resultou nos Panteras Negras. Depois acabou se tornando um movimento violento, mas no início era um movimento muito pacífico. Mas a violência, ela vinha dos dois lados. Um dos criadores do movimento foi assassinado bem aqui. Esse lugar onde eu estou agora também é um lugar muito importante porque foi o primeiro centro educacional para crianças negras aqui nessa parte do país.
It's important to note that we've made a lot of progress, but I think it's important to know that the progress that has been made has been good, but it's not a stopping point. And so I'm proud of gains that have been made here in Oakland, but I know we're not where any of us, those of us who are really concerned about equality, I know we're not where we really want to be. So we have to keep pushing forward. Oakland is an inclusive place. And anytime you have people who are committed to inclusivity, they're going to be looking at what brings them together rather than what divides them. And what I think brings a lot of us together is concern about the environment, it's concern about social justice. And so those sorts of things, I think, are the reason why Oakland has sort of led the way in terms of those things.
I love everything about Oakland. Everybody's here, you know, there's good people, nice people.
I was raised here, I'm born here, my son's from here too. So I feel like it's awesome. Like, you know, sometimes it has its bad times like other places. We have our good times. Thank you, guys.
Aqui nesse bairro você vê sinais do legado dos Panteras Negras por toda parte. Esse cruzamento é um lugar super simbólico porque aqui nessa região eles não tinham nenhum sinal de trânsito e por isso algumas crianças negras foram atropeladas. Os Panteras Negras vieram até aqui e passaram a atravessar a rua com essas crianças. E por isso o governo decidiu colocar esses sinais de trânsito aqui. Por isso esse lugar é tão importante. Esse lugar aqui onde eu tô era a sede dos Panteras Negras nos anos 70. Depois, nos anos 90, virou uma confeitaria. Se é bom, eu tô prestes a descobrir, mas o cheiro é um espetáculo. Tem torta de limão, cookie, brownie, cheesecake, pudim de banana, mas eles são realmente famosos pelo bolo de batata doce. Eu amo batata doce. Olha, mágica.
What makes It's All Good Bakery good is that we bake fresh every day and we do the stuff that Mama used to teach us to do. These are home recipes, and so what makes us different from the rest is that we do it with love.
Você nota que na parede tem um monte de recorte de jornal dos anos 70, da época em que a resistência da comunidade negra foi um marco, não só aqui em Oakland, mas no país inteiro. O que aconteceu aqui na década de 70 ditou muito do que aconteceu com os direitos civis dos negros nos Estados Unidos.
I was a part of the Black Panthers program. So I was a kid that actually went to the Black Panthers program, and I remember many days going to school hungry, and it was because of the Black Panthers starting the breakfast program, feeding us, helping us with our homework, helped change our lives. So when I purchased this building over 20 years ago. I didn't know there was the Black Panthers' first headquarters. And to know that I'm part of that history and it lives on, it will continue to live on. As long as it's all good, it will continue to live on.
Oakland, the Bay Area, California, is famous for its activism. What is it about this place that seemed to have enough hope, enough stamina, enough drive to actually believe things can change?
I think the fact that there are generations where people have actually come together, organized, and experienced victories. There's a lot of embodiment of that in older people in the community or children who got to witness that and be a part of that growing up. I think also just the fact that there's so many people from so many different places and backgrounds, and we're all concentrated into a smaller amount, and so there's just a way that none of us feels like we're out here doing it on our own, that we all feel like we're a part of just a bigger community.
I'm very grateful to have this opportunity to work at this job, to work at this farm, where we are at the face of one of the largest polluters here in our area, and here in California, actually. And we are trying to show our community and show our city, like, there's greatness happening behind the polluters. We grow seasonal food. We have peppers, blackberries, raspberries growing right here. This is my favorite. We have many different flowers. I don't like to call us protesters. We like to call ourselves water protectors or protectors of land, protectors of the sacred system of life, because that's really what we're doing. And we as Indigenous peoples and members of I Don't Know More SF Bay, we don't have a human enemy. And so people who are CEOs of these oil refineries or are the head managers at these big banks, we've been able to write letters to them and say, you know what, like, we see you as a human being. We understand that this is the life that you have chosen, you know, to keep yourself secure, but we also want you to understand that the choices that you're making are harming the next generations who are coming after us, and not just humanity, but our non-human relatives. We know that they have a connection with us and that they see the great work that we do. And in order for us to make that change, we need to see eye to eye with the people who are working in these terrible places. We have here MCE Solar 1. So there's all these solar panels. Good job for renewable energy, but right behind it is Chevron, polluting nonstop.
A gente acabou de chegar na sede local da Chevron. Geralmente eles protestam aqui e o que eles tentam fazer é não associar a manifestação a um ato de violência. Então, eles não vêm armados, eles não vêm gritando e assim, de certa maneira, convencer o resto da população que essa briga vale a pena. When you talk about minorities and smaller communities in terms of numbers, the person at home might think that that problem is not theirs. When will we understand that Indigenous rights are also our rights?
I think it really takes simple conversations and simple ways of educating to really show that, you know, these are issues that are going to impact us both short-term and long-term. And we need you to, you know, take some time to care about it, take some time to read and learn about it. If you have the time, if you feel called to come and protect the water, to protect the land, to help protect our culture, come up here now because we need you.
What would you say to those that feel discouraged, thinking that what I do is not going to have an impact? Like, it is my responsibility, but the impact that my lifestyle will have is irrelevant compared to, you know, big decisions.
The choices that I make around what I eat, how I get energy from my home, yes, they might have a small impact, but my ability to influence has a huge impact because one person can influence a lot of other people.
É fácil se afogar nas notícias ruins, se apegar ao que é negativo nessa emergência climática. Mas eu acho fundamental que a gente também dê o peso que as boas notícias têm. O fato da gente estar vendo o fechamento de milhares de usinas de carvão, que a energia solar ela é mais barata, mais acessível hoje, que a gente está vendo cada vez mais gente dirigindo carros elétricos. E essa conscientização geral de pequenas comunidades e eu acho que de grandes vozes. A largada foi dada e o fato da gente já ter dado o primeiro passo devia gerar esperança na gente. What brings you hope? What gives you hope?
I try not to think too far ahead, you know. I try not to really think too hard about the climate crisis. I think I will physically implode if I do. For me, what motivates me, though, to continue my work in the movement and continue supporting my peers is the love and the power that comes from being tapped in with community. Seeing young people find that passion to work for their communities, to organize for their people, for their moms and dads, and then their little siblings. I mean, you know, when you go to a strike and you see like a little kid, 6 years old, getting on the mic, speaking, there's part of you that's like, that is really sad that that little kid has to do that, but there's also another part of you that goes, that's powerful to see that little kid do that. And there's a power in being with my people and community and just coming together. You know, there's power in seeing Bay Area kids dance to Mac Dre songs at a strike. For me, that's what I love about it.
Essa nova geração, ela está muito mais atenta, ela está muito mais ciente e ela é muito mais corajosa que a minha geração ou que a geração dos meus pais. Se você estava esperando um sinal para começar a se mexer, para se inspirar, tá aí.
If you take one thing away from this, become a part of the collective, make a phone call, make an email. You don't have to organize an entire movement in your community. There are things you can do from across the globe that can still support small actions. That's what's amazing about technology. It doesn't have to be as big as Anaya, it doesn't have to be as big as Greta Thunberg. Whatever you can do it.